everybody. You know what day it is. You know what time it is. Erin here. We have a super rad guest. We always do, but this one I love. Kimber of St. Iris Wellness. She is a holistic esthetician. She works so much with the body in regards to helping women get more in touch. Learn all about her. She is so cool. I don't know why or even how I started following her. There was something about, I'm like, wait. Oh my goodness. I was just, first of all, hi, Kimber, how are you? It is so good to see your beautiful face.
Oh, I am so honored to be on your page today. I'm so excited.
Well, and it's so funny. I don't, oh, look how cute my hair looks today. I don't remember how I first found you, but then you just started posting things that I was like, oh girl, okay, there's something in alignment with your story, with who you are, and you're up in Oregon, you're a holistic esthetician, but you're so much more than that. And of course the problem is we only have 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because I try not to take up too much of your time. But can you give people tuning in a little bit of your backstory and how you became Kimber of St. Iris Wellness?
Yes, I would love to. Okay, so we're going to take it back. I'm going to try to make it really fast. So 6 years ago, I got divorced. I'd been a stay-at-home mom for 11 years. I had 4 kids. And kind of had to restart life over at 33. And when you have 4 kids, you can't really do an 8 to 5. So I've always loved skin, and I thought, well, I'll just get my esthetician license and see where it takes me. And so I got my esthetician license and ended up opening a lash studio, which I really liked it. I did that for 5 years. I had amazing clients. But then when the shutdowns happened, I had to shut down my studio. And that was a time in my life that I was like, I don't think this is fulfilling me anymore. I was realizing that most of my clients would come in and they'd be so beautiful and they'd be like, I need lash extensions. I don't feel pretty. And I'm like, you don't need them. Don't get these today. I feel like you're beautiful without them. And so I was realizing more and more I wasn't even about the lash extensions. And so I was like, what can I do that not only empowers women to feel better in their own skin, but makes them feel more comfortable? And I was like, gosh, I should just get more into skincare. And so I went down just this rabbit hole of Chinese medicine and gua sha and oil cleansing. And I absolutely fell in love with the concept. Because prior to looking into more intentional things, I was definitely a quick fix girl. Busy mom of 4 kids, I'm like, just shoot me with some Botox and I'll just wash my face with body wash. Right. And that wasn't making me feel comfortable in my skin or necessarily more confident in my skin. But when I started taking this time to invest in my skin and invest in time with myself in the mornings, I was like, this is so much more than just changing my skincare routine. And how can I share this with the world? Which took me a while. I was very hesitant, very nervous. I'm like, how am I going to rub gua sha stones on my skin for the world? But I kept trying to just show up authentically. Okay, what would I want someone to say? Who would I be drawn to? And that's just someone who's showing up as themselves. So this was only a year ago. I launched St. Iris Wellness in April of last year. And it has been the most beautiful experience because it's so outside of my comfort zone. I do not, I hate being in front of the camera. I still, shake in front of the camera when I'm making reels because I'm like, am I doing this right? But it's shown me, such amazing growth when we just get uncomfortable and start showing up as ourselves. And I'm like, gosh, I should have done this, in my 20s, and now I'll be 40 this year. And I'm just now realizing you step into that power when you really just show up as yourself, So there's my long story short. I now do virtual classes for skincare. I do facials in person a few days a week. But I know that this isn't where I want to end. I know there's so many things I want to do now that I've opened up this Pandora's box of empowering women. So I don't know where it will go, but that's where I'm at right now. Now it's all coming back to me. I don't know how I found you, but I knew the moment I fell in love with you. Oh.
And it was so powerful because I think all of us going through the pandemic was purging this, like, everybody had to slow down. Everybody had to stop this whole association with our job. I mean, my career totally halted. There was like nothing on TV with regard to sports. And we really had to get uncomfortable. And I'm such a busy bee.
Yeah.
And I remember your story being so refreshing to me. Like, you were so, I mean, you guys got to check out her Instagram is like, it's therapy, you know? And I think like, I have my, you know, my issues with social media for sure. But then there's people like you that defy this need to be perfect. What is perfect? And I think the message that I got from you that I was like, side note, hopefully she'll be my best friend one day. That's a whole nother project I'm working on. But what I really appreciated was you sort of gave women permission to be authentically themselves. And you really kind of called yourself out in a way where, you know, like you had this relationship with your breast implants and you talked about that.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that it all stemmed back. I didn't know your story about you were like a lash esthetician who kind of was like, this just doesn't feel in alignment with these amazing women that have these amazing stories. And then they're coming in going like, can you fix me? Can you make me look perfect? And it's such a frustrating dynamic, I'm sure.
Well, and always feeling the need to add more. Like, I think that's the thing in the beauty industry that was so, it's like suffocating to be like, everyone that's coming in, all I see is these beautiful women, and they're like, but I need to add something to myself to add value. And I'm like, no. Like, I love working with skin now because I'm like, look, we just worked with your skin and we just cleanse it in a way that it's probably been begging to be cleansed, and you're feeling more beautiful without adding anything extra to your body. And like the same thing with my breast implants. All of those things that I've added in my life to like say, hey, I'm gonna add breast implants to see if that adds value to myself. Or I thought it honestly would heal me because I had so many insecurities going through my divorce, and I was like, if I get these are gonna empower me and make me feel so beautiful. And they did for a moment. But then I realized like soon after that, I'm like, no, I bought these out of my insecurity with myself. And like, you know, when you have that realization, I'm like, what am I also teaching my 4 kids? Like, you have to add something to you to add value. And I feel like a weird voice on the internet because it's very hard to like push this movement of like less is more. And not everybody needs Botox. Not everybody needs breast implants. And I think we've gone down this rabbit trail of everybody thinking they need to have a certain aesthetic where we all look exactly the same. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we're taking away diversity and like humanness and like, and how beautiful it is to actually age and like see aging skin. I see these women with like white hair and natural wrinkles, and I'm like, that is so gorgeous. And like, why are we stepping away from that kind of beauty? Like, and saying you have to look a certain way or you're a nobody. Cause I feel like it's,
no, but it's such a good, I love that, right? Like, you get a new pair of jeans, I feel like you want the antique, vintage, worn in, you know, our scars tell the story, right?
Yes.
I so agree with you, like the Botox, and I'm from LA, and it's relentless, and it's like, when we get like breast implants, and by the way, I support whatever you feel the need to do. However, I will question, and I did this with Justin Tuck, who was a former defensive end for the New York Giants, who then became a financial advisor, so very successful football player. That same theme is not just for women, like men with regards to like needing a Rolex. And it was interesting. He goes, do you see anything on my arms? I'm like, no. He's like, see, because I decided that who am I buying the watch for? Who am I buying the implants for? Am I really buying them for me, or am I buying them to make someone like me more? And then who are you attracting, right? We're attracting the people in our lives that actually don't even vibe with who we really want to attract. So it's really interesting that you went through that discovery. Did you feel like you went through that discovery during the pandemic, or this was all before?
You know what? I feel like, no. So my implants started making me sick around month 6. I started having tons of different like autoimmune flare-ups, and just, I have lupus. And so I felt like I had lupus under control, got my implants 6 months after I started having a bunch of lupus stuff. But I was like, it's not my implants. It can't be, like, in my brain. And then the pandemic started. I started, like, wondering if it could be them. I got on some, like, breast implant illness awareness groups. But I still would not. I wanted to keep them. I'm like, these make me feel like a woman. I'm pretty petite. So, like, they make me feel womanly. And then when I started this page, I have to say this page is changing my life more than ever. I wasn't showing up. I was showing up, you know, as Kimber, but the more I started peeling back layers and, like, I took out my hair extensions because I had hair extensions when I first started this page, and I was like, this feels really good. Like, to kind of just take off layers of things I thought I needed and I didn't need them, and I took off my lash extensions, and I was like, this is kind of just really amazing how much better I feel just slowly pulling stuff off. And then around April, I started having pain in my left breast, and so I was like, oh my gosh, I think it is my implants. I really started researching more things that possibly could be affecting my body with them. And I think everybody's body is so different. I do not think implants in any way are going to affect everybody's body the same. And so I tried really hard to share my story in a way that I'm like, if you have them and they make you feel great, that's amazing. I think some people's bodies just don't adapt to them. And then my son ended up coming down with cancer in May, and that was my switch. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Like, I'm sitting here with these implants that could possibly be making me sick, and I'm so worried about my aesthetic. What am I teaching my children? And I am so grateful that all of that happened within the same month of, like, nope, I'm done. Like, I called my surgeon the week after he was diagnosed, and I was like, get these out of me. Like, I know for sure they're making me sick. And thank God I had my surgeon that put my breast implants in. He's actually a reconstructive surgeon that deals with women with breast cancer. So he really, and he's all about it. He's like, I believe in BII. I think it definitely affects women that have autoimmune. And so just, it was like a beautiful thing of events that, like, got me to take them out. But I don't think I would have had the confidence to do that if I would not have started this page. I think it would have taken me a little bit longer. Because I feel like it's so empowering to share its, like, vulnerable sides of yourself and have people be, like, accepting of that and be like, this actually is really helping me. And the more I was telling my story, I'm like, what if I help somebody that thought they needed these as well and save them from doing all of this? You know, it's 20 grand to put them in and take them out. What if I help someone, and what if I just help one person by sharing this story? And it's been, like, the most emotional, amazing experience of my life. And I know it's just breast implants, but just the connections and the conversations I've had with women, it's like, wow, when we share our story, especially that vulnerable side, we have no idea who we're touching. So yeah,
I'm getting goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps because you're speaking such a beautiful language of, I wish more women had people like you in their lives, and maybe they do, and I think we're starting to see more of that type of acceptance, because when, like, your story, for instance, you went through all this tough stuff, but, like, look at how many pages and layers your prism of your story and colors and varieties are. And that's the only way, I think, in my head. I've been through a lot of trauma and loss. Like, I think in, like, 3 days will be the 3-month anniversary for losing my dad, and my dad was, like, my best friend, and, like, I get emotional. I actually would get emotional just talking about my parents pre-illness, and I lost my brother the year before, and so, like, watching my mom lose 2 sons and now her husband, and is, you know, going through this challenge, I'm like, there's no way I can rationalize someone going through this much trauma other than to help someone else potentially going to go through that. And so that same thing is for you, is when you post this, like, living your life in such a vulnerable way, like, you posted something that, like, made me just want to, like, come to your aid about someone maybe someone making an odd criticism about a decision that you made, and I appreciated that you were open about that, because I think we want to hide it, we want to delete it, we want to, you know, we don't want to address it. And you really stood in such a beautiful way of empowerment that it's interesting, because I can see how your page attracts, like, when you're living this really authentic life, it gives other people permission to kind of like a moth to a flame, find you and then sort of be in that tribe. And so like you're doing it from afar. I mean, I'm in LA and I was like immediately gravitated towards who you were and what you represented. And I was like, let's just get her on. Like,
I'm so happy, Erin.
Girl.
I love your page so much. So it is such an honor. And it's also just showing me that, like, it's very scary to put yourself on the internet or your life on the internet. And I'm like, I don't live a fancy life. Like, I have 4 kids and a new puppy, and my life isn't glamorous. Like, how do I show up in a influencer style without being, I don't know. I wanted to be so approachable. Like, that is definitely something. This summer when my Instagram got bigger, I had, like, a company reach out to me, and they're like, hey, we can help you, like, grow your business. We love what you're doing. And I talked to my now husband, and I was like, I feel like if I sell myself out to any other business or company or try to grow too fast, I'm going to lose all my authenticity and all my vulnerability and like that personal communication with my followers. Like, I love leaving voice messages to my followers because I'm like, I want you to know, like, I wouldn't be here without you, and I'm so happy you're here today. And like, I never want to lose that. And so if this page just keeps me afloat for like my own mental health and like whatever, I'm like, I'm fine with it. Because it's been a beautiful ride. And I do think the world is going to be more accepting of like that human concept. I really do. I think we're so tired of constantly having to add to ourselves to be enough, and like we're just dying to be accepted.
Yeah, and you know, and we're getting caught facade, and that's really what I don't like about social media is it's so easy to put on a filter, and then you just start getting used to seeing yourself in a filter, and then you're like, wait, that's real me.
Like, my face looks really scary without it, or like my forehead lines move and no one else's does. Like, how is this? It's
right. Right. I mean, and even these models that are like perfect and great looking, and I mean, even they're putting filters. So like, there's zero opportunity for a young girl who is trying to live in her authenticity and fall in love with who she is and like appreciate all the wonderful flaws when you see so much of that inauthenticity, you know? And so I'm always finding myself super gravitated towards the women that stand in that fearlessness, because really your weaknesses are truly your strengths.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. And I think forgiving yourself of choices you made when you're healing. Like, I felt so guilty. You know, I was at a very broken space when I went through my divorce, and like my self-esteem was definitely very low. And I tried everything to fix my self-esteem that I could purchase. And I was like, this doesn't work. Like, you have to do the internal work to actually love that person that you see in the mirror. And so I remember in that very broken space, I had a journal writing, and I was like, someday I want to write a book, because I cannot find the book to get myself to the space I want to be. I can't find anybody that's been in this space that's like, hey, I did this, this, and this. I mean, now I've read so many amazing books. There's so many amazing people out there. But just like that idea of, if you're broken, society is going to tell you, if you add this, you're going to be fixed. And I think we're always looking for quick fixes, and self-love is not a quick fix. Like, it's a constant struggle. Like, you're gonna have days. I have days all the time that I'm like, what am I doing? How am I promoting self-love when I feel, you know, like I look tired today?
Right.
Well, like, I'm gonna show up in that. Like, hey, I'm exhausted too. Like, life is exhausting, and like, I'm having a rough day. Loving this person, but I'm gonna choose to set my negative talk aside and really, really sit there in like my power of the things I do love about myself, whether it's like, I'm a really good mom. Like, I know I'm a good mom. And so if there's nothing about my face I like today, at least I have that. So let's focus on that today. And I think so often we're like, I have one zit, so that's going to like take my whole day and make it a horrible day because of the one zit. And you're like, no. Like, just take your focus off that, because perspective is everything. 100%.
It is. And it's talking about it. Like, okay, here's a great example. So I've always struggled with adult acne. And I have a zit right here that I just can't stop staring at, that I'm sure no one else is like really paying attention. You know what? I'm gonna offset it by getting just a little bit closer so that I can see it even more and just love it. Because I think that's right. I think it's like we see the one little tiny negative, and then it offsets all of these things that we work so hard to be proud of, and like you're such a great mom, and like your story is, and who wants Kimber to write a book? Who wants to buy Kimber's book? Raise your hand. I do.
Oh, thank you.
But I think you're right. I think like there's this thing about quick fixes and, you know, a car or this boat, you know, all of those things that I think just actually adds more pressure to have to sustain.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. What does work is having an amazing community of people that talk about this stuff. And I think the pandemic, although really challenging for a lot of people, I think has set forth a new temperature of acceptance, like you mentioned. And I'm already out of time with you. I did want to ask you really quickly, because you are doing the work and you are healing, what are your, you know, and it's hard, I'm sure, for kids, do you have sort of a self-care routine? I like to ask all my women this because, like, secretly I want to steal some of your ideas. But what are what's your morning routine? Do you have a morning routine? Like,
I definitely do my gua sha in the morning because I'm a night owl. But what I realized is I used to always try to do like my workouts at night and any of like my face mask up at night, and then I was either too tired, so I would decide not to do it, and I'd end up washing my face with body wash, or just I would get on myself about like, oh, I need to work out, and I'd be working out at 11:30 p.m. So I really try to do everything in the mornings before the kids get up, because that gives me not only time for myself, but I feel like giving myself self-care and love in the morning before my day starts, I'm like a better version of myself. If I'm like groggy and I roll out of bed and like it's the same time the kids are getting up and I got to get everybody ready for school, like I'm not putting my best foot forward. And so I really, really, really try to set time for myself in the mornings because I think that just sets the tone for my day. But I'm not perfect. I'm like definitely not doing that 7 days a week. If I do 5 days a week, I'm like, Kimber, you're golden. Because I think too, so often we're like, I'm not achieving my goal if it's not every day. I'm like, please don't be so hard on yourself. Like, even if you're doing it 5 days a week, like you're doing great. And if you have weeks that you're, you know, falling behind, that's okay. You can always step back on your feet and start again tomorrow. But yeah, I think having whatever window that looks like in your life, whether that's evening, in the afternoon or the morning, just sometime, even if it's 10 minutes, just to sit with yourself and like give yourself good self-talk, I think is just everything. For sure.
Do you meditate a little bit? Do you try to get in a little bit of that?
Yeah, I just started meditating 2 months ago and I absolutely love it. I use Melissa Wood Health. She has like a meditation series. I work out to her workout videos, but she has like a whole meditation series, and I just love her voice. And so she's definitely my person that is my go-to for meditation. I wish I did it 7 days a week. I don't. I probably do it 3. But I always feel better on the days I do it, for sure. Definitely.
I'm sure. Well, you're so amazing. You also do virtual consultations, right?
Yes, okay. I do virtual everything. I do, and I also have a life coaching license, so I have a virtual life coaching option as well. If no one's, if you're not interested in skincare, there's other stuff we can talk about. So,
well, you've got to, people tuning in, you have to watch and check out Kimber's Instagram page, St. Iris Wellness. You're doing so much for so many people. You're really, I think, setting a tempo of acceptance, of self-acceptance. And that's like what we need the most. In order to be able to show up for everybody else, we've got to show up for ourselves. And I love you. So I've got to come up, hopefully visit you one of these days. If you're ever in LA, please let me know. And
I will. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Erin. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, babes. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye, Kimber.